Hey guys, tonight we slip into the quiet rhythm of a 19th century Aboriginal camp somewhere in the vast Australian outback where the red earth hums under your feet and the air smells of eucalyptus and smoke. Picture yourself curled in a bark shelter, the dawn light creeping through gaps in the woven roof, painting your face with soft gold. Birds' galas, maybe cockatoos screech in the distance, rude as an alarm clock you can't snooze. You're waking up in a world where survival is an art, and you're about to learn it the hard way. Spoiler that you probably won't survive this without a few sunburns and a serious respect for the land. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your location and local time. I'm curious where you're drifting off from tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stir in your shelter, a low dome of bark and branches, the air cool but heavy with the promise of heat. The ground beneath you is hard dusted with fine red dirt that clings to your skin like a second shadow. You're in an Aboriginal camp, one of the many scattered across Australia's interior in the 1800s, where life moves to the rhythm of seasons and stories. The shelter's frame, made from saplings, bent into arcs, creaks as you shift. It's sturdy but temporary. Camps like this move when the land calls following water or game. Historians note that Aboriginal groups like the Wiradjuri or Arunti mastered this nomadic balance and living sustainably for millennia. Their knowledge of the land, passed down through oral traditions, you roll onto your side blinking at the slivers of sunrise. Your bed is a pile of soft grasses, maybe some kangaroo hide smelling faintly of earth and smoke. It's not a memory foam mattress, but it's cozy in its own way. Outside, the camp is waking. You hear soft voices, women chatting, a child giggling, someone coughing as they stoke last night's fire. The air carries a faint whiff of charred wood and something sweet, maybe wild honey. You crawl out, ducking under the low entrance, and stand in the clearing. The camp is small, maybe 20 people, a mix of families bound by intricate kinship ties. Bark shelters dot the space, arranged in a loose circle around a central fire pit. Beyond the landscape stretches endlessly scrubby trees, spinifex grass, and the occasional termite mound, looking like a lumpy sculpture left by some forgetful artist. You stretch, feeling the stiffness in your legs, and wonder how anyone gets used to sleeping on the ground. Joke's on you. Your modern back would probably stage a full rebellion by noon. Your first task is already calling. A woman, maybe an auntie by clan rules, waves you over to help with morning chores. You're handed a digging stick, its tip worn smooth from years of use. The wood feels warm, almost alive in your hands. You're not just a guest here, you're expected to pull your weight. The camp's survival depends on everyone pitching in, from kids to elders. A quirky tidbit, some Aboriginal groups used termite mound clay to strengthen their tools, mixing it with plant resin for a kind of natural superglue. It's clever, but you're secretly hoping you won't have to scoop dirt with your hands to test it. Historians still argue whether these camps were fully egalitarian, or if subtle hierarchies shaped who did what. For now, you're just trying not to trip over a root as you follow the auntie toward a pile of branches. The sky is fully light now, a pale blue streaked with wispy clouds. You notice the camp's layout isn't random. Shelters face away from the prevailing wind, a trick to keep dust out. You're already sweating, and the sun's barely up. The auntie points to a nearby acacia tree, its branches heavy with seed pods. Gather those later, she says, her voice calm but firm. You nod, pretending you know what you're doing. The camp hums with small movements. Someone sharpens a spear, another weaves a basket from dried grass. It's a world of quiet purpose, where every action ties to survival. You're starting to see why the land feels like a living thing here. is not just dirt and trees. It's a partner, a teacher, maybe even a bit of a bully when you're not paying attention. You trudge toward a cluster of acacia trees, your digging stick slung over your shoulder, like some outback version of a backpack. The morning air is warming fast, and the red dirt under your bare feet, because let's be honest, your modern sneakers wouldn't last a week here, feels like it's plotting to bake you from the soles up. Your task is to gather wood for the camp's fire, the heart of this 19th century Aboriginal camp. The fire isn't just for cooking, it's a social hub, a defense against dingoes, and a signal to anyone wandering too far. Historical records show that Aboriginal fire management shaped Australia's landscape, with controlled burns, creating grasslands for kangaroos, and keeping forests from choking. You're not setting anything ablaze today, though, just hauling branches. You reach the trees, their gnarled limbs casting jagged shadows. The auntie from earlier, who you're now calling auntie in your head, because she's got that no-nonsense vibe, points to a fallen branch. That one she says, and you notice her hands calloused but precise as she breaks off a twig to test its dryness. You grab the branch heavier than it looks and drag it back toward camp. The wood smells sharp like resin and dust, and tiny ants scatter as you disturb their morning commute. A quirky fact, some Aboriginal groups use specific woods like mulga because they burn slow and hot, perfect for long nights. You're half convinced this branch is plotting revenge for being chosen, though it's got thorns that seem to find your fingers on purpose. The camp is busier now. Kids dart between shelters, chasing each other with sticks, while an elder sits cross-legged, sharpening a stone tool with deliberate strokes. You drop your branch near the fire pit, where embers from last night still glow faintly. Auntie nods, which you take as high praise, and hands you another task. Collect smaller twigs for kindling. You're starting to feel like the camp's unpaid intern, but there's a rhythm to it, a quiet satisfaction in the work. You kneel gathering sticks and notice the ground is etched with faint patterns, maybe animal tracks or just kids doodling in the dirt. Historians still argue whether these daily chores were strictly divided by gender or if roles flexed based on need. You're just glad no one's asked you to wrestle a kangaroo yet. As you pile twigs, you catch a whiff of smoke from the fire pit, where someone's already coaxing it back to life. The scent mixes with the dry herbal tang of the bush, and you pause taking it in. It's oddly soothing, like the world's oldest aromatherapy. You spot a kid nearby, maybe 8, mimicking your twig gathering with exaggerated seriousness. You grin and toss him a small stick, which he catches with a dramatic flourish. Nice one, you say, and he giggles, running off to show his friends. Joke number 1, you're pretty sure you're the only one here who'd fail kindling 101 if this were a graded course. The camp's rhythm pulls you along, though everyone's moving, but no one's rushing. It's like the land itself sets the pace. You glance at the fire pit again, where the flames are starting to crackle. The wood you dragged over is waiting its turn, and you feel a tiny spark of pride. The sun's higher now, and sweat beads on your forehead. You wipe it away, leaving a streak of dirt across your face. Great. You're officially blending in. Auntie calls you over to help stack the kindling, showing you how to layer it for maximum airflow. Her hands move with a precision that makes you feel like a toddler with a crayon. You try to mimic her, but your stack looks like it's auditioning for a role as modern art disaster. She chuckles low and warm and fixes it without a word. You're learning slowly that survival here is about patience, not just strength. You're crouched near the fire pit, the morning sun, now a warm hand pressing on your back. The camp's alive with soft chatter, and you're about to join the breakfast ritual, a communal affair that's less grab a coffee and more hope you like sharing. The fire's crackling, tended by a wiry elder who barely looks up from his work. You're handed a flat golden slab of damper unleavened bread baked in the coals, its crust gritty with ash. It's warm, slightly chewy, and you tear off a piece. The flavor's plain but hearty, like a hug from a no-nonsense grandma. You dip it into a small wooden bowl of bush honey, thick and tangy with a floral kick that makes your modern taste buds blink in surprise. Historical accounts confirm that damper was a staple for many Aboriginal groups, often paired with wild honey or native fruits. You're eating like it's no big deal, but you're pretty sure your usual cereal would betray you for this stuff. The quirky tidbit bush honey comes from tiny native bees, stingless, and smaller than your thumbnail, who stash their nectar in tree hollows. You take another bite, trying not to drip honey on your already dusty hands. The sweetness is intense, like nature's version of a sugar rush, and you're half convinced you'll be buzzing like those bees soon. Historians still argue whether breakfast was a formal meal or just opportunistic snacking in Aboriginal camps given the nomadic lifestyle. You're just grateful for the food because the alternative grubs or lizards sounds like a hard pass for your city stomach. You sit cross-legged on the ground, surrounded by a small group of men and women, all eating from shared bowls. The fire's warmth brushes your skin, and you notice the way everyone moves, in sync, passing food without fuss. A kid across from you, maybe 10 grins, and offers you another piece of damper, clearly enjoying your awkward nibbling technique. "Slow down, mate," you mutter, and he laughs, mimicking your accent. Joke number 2. You're pretty sure you're the camp's comic relief without even trying. The honey's stickiness clings to your fingers, and you wipe them on a leaf, hoping no one notices your lack of bush etiquette. The elder tending the fire tosses on a eucalyptus log, sending up a sharp, medicinal scent that clears your head despite the heat. You watch the smoke curl skyward, blending with the pale blue morning. The camp's laid out in a loose circle, with shelters angled to catch the breeze, and you're starting to appreciate the logic of it all. A woman next to you, her face painted with faint ochre dots, explains in a low voice that the honey's from a tree she climbed at dawn. You nod, impressed, and try not to imagine yourself falling out of said tree. The communal vibe feels natural, like you've stumbled into a family reunion where everyone's too busy eating to argue. You take another bite of damper, the crust crunching satisfyingly. The honey's tang lingers, and you're struck by how something so simple can feel so luxurious out here. A young girl, barely 5, toddles over and plops down next to you, eyeing your damper like it's a rare treasure. You tear off a piece and hand it to her, earning a shy smile. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure you're now the camp's unofficial bread dealer. The elder across the fire catches your eye and nods like he's sizing you up. You're not sure if you passed or failed, but you're too busy chewing to care. The sun's climbing higher, and the air's starting to shimmer with heat. You notice the dirt under your feet is softer here near the fire, packed down by years of gatherings like this. The woman with the ochre dots offers you a sip of water from a coulamon, a shallow wooden bowl that looks like it's seen decades of use. The water's warm, but clean with a faint, earthy taste. You're starting to get the hang of this, or at least you're faking it well enough. The camp's rhythm is slow, but deliberate, like a song you're just starting to hum along to. You lean back, feeling the ground's warmth through your clothes, and let the moment sink in. You're standing in the shade of a gnarled eucalyptus, its leaves whispering in the breeze as you grip a rough chunk of wood that's about to become a boomerang. The camp's morning hum surrounds you kids, laughing the faint crackle of the fire you helped stoke earlier and the rhythmic scrape of stone on wood. Your task is to carve a boomerang guided by a wiry craftsman with hands like weathered leather. His eyes sharp despite his age, watch you fumble with a flint blade. You're trying to channel your inner artisan, but it feels like you're auditioning for world's clumsiest carver. Historical records show boomerangs weren't just hunting tools for Aboriginal groups like the Yolngu or Wiradjuri. They were also used for digging music making and even starting fires. You're just hoping you don't slice your thumb off. The craftsman, who you're calling uncle in your head, because he's got that patient but don't test me vibe, points to a curve in the wood. Follow that, he says, his voice low and gravelly. You scrape the flint along the grain wood shavings, curling like tiny scrolls. The wood's dense, smelling of sap and earth, and you're surprised how heavy it feels. A quirky fact, some boomerangs were decorated with ochre patterns, not for show, but to mark clan identity. Yours is plain for now, but you're secretly hoping you'll earn some cool designs later. Historians still argue whether boomerang making was a specialized skill or something every adult learned. Right now, you're leaning towards specialized because your cuts look like a toddler's art project. The sun's higher, painting the camp in harsh light, but the eucalyptus shade keeps you cool. You glance around, noticing others working on their own tasks. A woman weaves grass into a basket. A kid practices throwing a smaller boomerang that wobbles mid-air. You chuckle, thinking you'd probably send yours straight into a tree. Joke number 1, your boomerang's flight path would likely be classified as modern art rather than hunting tool. Uncle shows you how to angle the blade for a smoother cut, his hands moving with a precision that makes you jealous. You try again, and the wood starts to take shape, its curve, hinting at the aerodynamic magic you've read about in books. You pause to wipe sweat from your brow, leaving a streak of sawdust across your face. Uncle smirks, and you're pretty sure he's enjoying your struggle. Keep it steady, he says, tapping the wood. You nod, focusing on the task, but your mind wanders to the camp's rhythm. The fire from breakfast is still going, its smoke curling lazily upward, and you remember the damper and honey you shared. That feels like hours ago, but the warmth of the meal lingers in your chest. You're starting to see how everything here connects food tools, stories all woven into the land like threads in a basket. Your boomerang's rough shape is emerging, but it's far from finished. Uncle hands you a smoother stone for sanding, and you start rubbing it along the edges. The motion's repetitive, almost meditative, and you lose yourself in it. A kid runs by, shouting something about a lizard, and you grin. Joke number 2, you're pretty sure your carving skills would scare off any self-respecting kangaroo. The craftsman points out a knot in the wood, explaining how to work around it to keep the balance right. You're impressed by the knowledge, the way every detail matters. The camp's not just surviving, it's thriving on these small, deliberate acts. You step back, holding up your half-finished boomerang. It's crooked, but it's yours, and you feel a flicker of pride. Uncle nods, which you take as a win, and gestures for you to keep sanding. The air smells of wood dust and eucalyptus, and the camp's sounds laughter, scraping the fire's crackle, wrap around you like a blanket. You're starting to get why this life feels so grounded, even if your modern hands are begging for a power tool. The boomerang's weight in your hands feels like a promise of a hunt, a story, or maybe just a really bad throw tomorrow. You're standing at the edge of the camp, the midday sun pressing down like a heavy blanket as you grip a spear that feels both foreign and thrilling in your hands. The air hums with the distant drone of cicadas, and the red earth under your feet is warm, almost pulsing. You're preparing for a kangaroo hunt, guided by a lean hunter whose face is lined with stories you can't yet read. He's showing you how to balance the spear, its tip sharpened to a wicked point, with a stone you helped shape earlier. Historical records tell us Aboriginal hunters, like those of the Arunta or Yolngu, used spears with a deadly precision, often tipped with kangaroo bone or flint, crafted for both power and balance. You're just hoping you don't accidentally spear your own foot. The hunter, who you're mentally calling Tracker, because he moves like he's part of the landscape, points to a patch of scrubland beyond the camp. "We go there," he says, his voice calm but expectant. You nod, trying to look confident, but your grip on the spear is more nervous toddler than seasoned warrior. A quirky fact, some Aboriginal hunters coated their spear tips with plant sap to make wounds stickier, slowing prey down. You're not sure if your spear's got that upgrade, but you're secretly glad you're not the one testing it. Historians still argue whether hunting was a daily necessity or a periodic event tied to seasonal game movements. For now, you're just trying to keep up with Tracker's long strides. The camp's behind you now, its shelters fading into the haze of eucalyptus and dust. You pass a cluster of spinifex bushes, their spiky tips glinting in the sun, and you're reminded of the fire you helped stoke this morning. Those embers are probably still glowing, waiting for tonight's meal. Tracker pauses, crouching to inspect a patch of dirt. He points to faint scratches, kangaroo tracks, he says. You squint, seeing nothing but dust, and wonder if you're missing some kind of outback X-ray vision. Joke number 1, you're pretty sure your tracking skills would lead you straight to a nice comfy rock to trip over. You adjust your grip on the spear, its weight settling into your palm. Tracker shows you how to hold it for throwing your arm cocked back, like you're about to pitch a baseball in the world's oldest league. The wood smooth, worn by countless hands before yours, and you feel a flicker of connection to the camp's rhythm wood, to fire, to food, to survival. A kid runs past carrying a smaller spear and mimicking your stance with exaggerated flair. You grin and fake a throw, making him laugh. Joke number 2, you're betting your spear-throwing debut would be a viral fail in another century. Tracker moves again, silent as a shadow, and you follow, stepping over roots and dodging low branches. The air smells of dry grass and something faintly sweet, maybe wildflowers or leftover honey for breakfast. You're sweating now, the sun relentless, but Tracker doesn't seem to notice. He points to a eucalyptus tree, its bark peeling like old wallpaper, and explains how its shade draws kangaroos in the heat. You nod, filing that away, but your mind's half on the damper. You ate earlier, its chewy warmth, a distant comfort. The camp's teachings are sinking in everything's. Here Spear Tree Tracks tells a story of survival. You pause for water, sipping from a Coolamun Tracker hands you. The water's warm, earthy, and you're starting to appreciate its taste, like the land's own recipe. He watches you, his eyes crinkling with what might be amusement. "Ready?" he asks, and you nod, though you're not sure if you're ready for a hunt or just ready to not embarrass yourself. Joke number 3, you're pretty sure the kangaroos are already laughing at your spear-holding technique. The scrubland stretches ahead, vast and quiet, and you feel the weight of the moment, not just the spear, but the trust the camp's placed in you. You take a deep breath, the air thick with heat and possibility, and step forward. You're trailing Tracker through the scrubland, the sun baking your shoulders, as you clutch a spear that feels less like a weapon and more like an awkward dance partner. The air smells of dry grass and the faint musk of distant animals. You're learning to read the land's signs, kangaroo tracks, broken twigs, scuffed dirt, like a code you're only half fluent in. Trackers ahead crouching to point at a faint paw print in the dust, its edges softened by the breeze. Historical accounts show Aboriginal hunters, like those of the Pitjantjatjara, could track game across vast distances, reading subtle cues in the landscape that most modern eyes would miss. You're trying, but you're pretty sure you'd mistake a rock for a footprint without help. Tracker traces the print with a calloused finger, explaining how the depth means a kangaroo paused here, maybe grazing. You nod, squinting at the dust, and feel a bit like a detective in a very dusty crime show. A quirky fact, some trackers used songs to memorize routes, embedding landmarks and melodies passed down for generations. You're humming to yourself now, mostly to stay calm, because the idea of chasing a kangaroo is starting to feel real. Historians still argue whether tracking was taught formally or learned through years of tagging along. Right now, you're just hoping trackers' patience holds up with your rookie status. The scrubland's quiet, save for the rustle of spinifex and the occasional bird call, a kookaburra, laughing like it knows your spear-throwing odds. You step carefully, avoiding sharp grass that seems to have a personal vendetta against your bare feet. Joke number 1, you're pretty sure the spinifex is plotting to unionize against your clumsy steps. Tracker points to a bent twig, then a scuff mark showing you how the kangaroo's path weaves toward a shady eucalyptus grove. You're starting to see the patterns, or at least you're pretending to, and it feels like the land's whispering secrets if you just listen closer. You pause, wiping sweat from your brow, and glance back toward the camp. Its shelters now just smudges in the distance. The fire you helped build this morning is probably still crackling, waiting for whatever you bring back. Tracker hands you a sip of water from his coolamon, the same earthy taste you're getting used to. You take a moment to catch your breath, the spear's weight grounding you. A small lizard skitters by, and you jump, earning a raised eyebrow from Tracker. Joke number 2, you're betting that lizard's already spreading gossip about your tracking skills back at camp. Tracker moves again, his steps silent, and you follow, trying to mimic his grace, but feeling like a baby giraffe on roller skates. He points to a patch of trampled grass, explaining how kangaroos rest here in the heat. You imagine them lounging like they own the place, and you're just a guest in their world. The memory of the damper and honey from breakfast lingers, a reminder of why this hunt matters. Food keeps the camp alive. You grip the spear tighter, feeling the wood's warmth, and try to focus. Tracker's teaching you to look beyond the obvious, to see the land as a map of stories, not just dirt and plants. A faint rustle ahead makes you freeze. Tracker's eyes narrow, and he gestures for silence. Your heart's pounding, but the air's so still you can hear your own breathing. You're not sure if it's a kangaroo or just the wind, but the moment feels alive, like the land's holding its breath with you. Joke number 3, you're pretty sure your spear's more nervous than you are right now. Tracker points to a shadow moving in the grove, and you squint, trying to make sense of it. The camp, the fire, the boomerang you carved, they're all waiting for you to bring something back. You take a step, the dust soft under your feet, and feel the weight of the hunt settling into your bones. You're deep in the scrubland now, the sun baking your shoulders as you clutch a woven dilly bag, its fibers rough against your palm. The hunt's on hold for a moment. Tracker sent you to forage while he scouts ahead for that elusive kangaroo. You're tasked with finding bush tucker, witchetty grubs berries, maybe some edible roots. The air smells of dry earth and faint sweetness like the wild honey you tasted at breakfast. Around you, spinifex grass sways sharp enough to make you regret your bare feet. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Anangu were expert foragers, harvesting everything from grubs to quandong fruit, with a knowledge of the land that rivaled any botanist. You're just hoping you don't accidentally pick something that'll have you running for the nearest billabong. A woman from the camp, her hair streaked with dust, shows you how to spot a witchetty bush. She digs with a stick eerily similar to the one you carried this morning and pulls out a fat, creamy grub, wriggling like it's late for a meeting. "Eat it raw," she says, grinning as your face betrays your city slicker horror. You take the grub, its skin cool and slightly slimy, and pop it in your mouth before you can overthink it. It's nutty, like a weirdly chewy almond, and you're surprised it's not terrible. A quirky fact, witchetty grubs were a protein powerhouse, sometimes roasted for a popcorn-like crunch. You're sticking with raw for now, but you're pretty sure your stomach's writing a strongly worded letter to management. Historians still argue whether foraging was a daily task or a seasonal necessity, depending on game availability. The woman points to a low bush dotted with red berries, muntry berries she calls them. You pluck a handful, their tartness bursting on your tongue like nature's candy. Joke number one, you're pretty sure these berries are the Outback's answer to a gourmet snack bar. You fill your dilly bag, careful not to squash the grubs, and notice the woman's efficiency she moves, like she's reading the land's menu. The scrubland's alive with small sounds, a rustle of leaves, a distant bird call maybe that kangaroo tracker's after. You glance back toward the camp, its fire a faint smudge of smoke on the horizon, and remember the damper you ate earlier. That meal feels like a lifetime ago, but it's fueling you now. You kneel to dig for a yam following the woman's lead. The dirt's stubborn, clinging to your fingers, and you're starting to appreciate the digging stick's genius way better than your modern nails. The yam's small, but dents its skin rough, like tree bark. You add it to your bag, feeling a flicker of pride. The woman hums a low tune, and you wonder if it's one of those route-memorizing songs Tracker mentioned. Joke number two, you're betting your foraging playlist would just be you muttering, "Please don't be poison," on repeat. The sun's relentless, and sweat trickles down your neck, but the rhythm of the task dig pick move feels almost meditative. A kid runs up, maybe the one who mimicked your spear stance earlier, and snatches a berry from your bag with a cheeky grin. You fake a scowl, and he darts off laughing. The woman chuckles, saying he's always stealing snacks. You're starting to see the camp's web of connections, food stories, even the boomerang you carved all tying everyone together. The air's thick with heat now, and you pause to sip water from a coulamon, its earthy taste grounding you. Joke number three, you're pretty sure your foraging skills would earn you a gold star in trying hard but not much else. The woman points to another bush, and you trudge on your bag, heavier with each step. The land's teaching you patience one grub at a time, and you're starting to listen. You're trudging through a patch of scrubland, your dilly bag now heavy with muntry berries, and a couple of squirming witchetty grubs as you join a group of women gathering yams and swapping stories. The sun's high, turning the red earth into a hot plate under your bare feet, and the air smells of dust and faint eucalyptus. The women move with a quiet confidence, their digging sticks piercing the soil like they're unlocking the land's secrets. You're trying to keep up clutching your own stick which still feels like an awkward extension of your arm. Historical records show that women in Aboriginal camps like those of the Kamilaroi were often the backbone of foraging, collecting up to 70% of the camp's plant-based food. You're starting to see why your arms are already aching, and you've barely filled half a kulamon. The lead woman, her hands quick and sure, points to a patch of soft dirt. There she says, and you kneel mimicking her as you dig for a murnong yam, its roots like pale, stubborn fingers. The yam pops free, and you hold it up, feeling like you've won a small victory. A quirky fact. Murnong was a staple, but overgrazing by colonial livestock in the 19th century nearly wiped it out, forcing camps to adapt. You're grateful it's still here because you're not sure you're ready for another grub just yet. Historians still argue whether women's foraging roles gave them equal social power or just heavier workloads. You're leaning toward both, given the way these women command the space without saying much. The group's chatter is low, a mix of laughter and stories about a hunt gone wrong last season. You catch snippets, so a kangaroo outsmarting a cocky young hunter, a detail that makes you smirk, thinking of your own spear fumbling earlier. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure you'd be the kangaroo's favorite opponent in a chase. The women's hands never stop moving, digging, sorting, weaving grass into small baskets. One offers you a sip of water from her kulamon, and you take it, the earthy taste now familiar like a handshake from the land. The fire from breakfast, with its damper and honey, feels like a distant memory, but it's what's keeping you going. A younger woman, her face painted with faint ochre lines, tells a story about a spirit in a nearby billabong. Her voice is soft, almost hypnotic, and you're half listening, half focused on not stabbing your foot with the digging stick. The story's vivid, something about a water spirit who guards the fish, and you wonder if it's a lesson or just a way to pass the time. Joke number 2, you're betting that spirit would take one look at your foraging skills and ban you from the billabong. The women laugh at something you miss their voices, blending with the rustle of leaves and the distant call of a cockatoo. It's a rhythm you're starting to feel like the camp's heartbeat. You unearth another yam smaller but solid and add it to the pile. The lead woman nods her eyes, crinkling, and you feel a flicker of pride like you're earning your place. The air's thick with heat now, and sweat beads on your forehead, mixing with the dust on your skin. You're a mess, but you're blending in, maybe even belonging a little. The women move to another patch, and you follow your dilly bags swinging against your hip. You think of the boomerang you carved, still unfinished back at camp, and the spear you held earlier. Everything here builds on itself, food tools, stories all woven together, like the grass baskets around you. A kid runs by the same one who stole your berry earlier and tosses you a cheeky grin. You shake your head, pretending to scold, and the women chuckle. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure you're now the camp's official snack dispenser. No application needed. The sun's relentless, but the shade of a nearby acacia offers a brief reprieve. You pause, wiping your hands on your dusty thighs, and take in the scene, the women, the yams, the stories. It's hard work, but it's alive. Grounded in a way your modern life rarely feels. You pick up your digging stick again, ready for the next patch, the land's lessons sinking deeper with every step. You're back in the heart of the camp, the midday heat easing as you sit on the red earth, watching a gaggle of kids chase each other with shrieks of laughter. Your dilly bag stuffed with yams and berries from your foraging stint rests beside you and your hands still feel the grit of dirt from digging. The air carries the familiar smoky tang of the fire you helped stoke this morning, now burning low but steady. You're drawn to the kids who are playing a game with string looped between their fingers, weaving intricate patterns like tiny living sculptures. Historical accounts note that Aboriginal children, like those of the Warlpiri, learned survival skills through play mastering coordination and observation long before they joined hunts or foraging trips. You're just hoping you don't get roped into a game you'll spectacularly lose. A girl, maybe 7, with a grin as bright as the sun, holds up her string figure, a shape that looks vaguely like a star. "Try it," she says, tossing you a loop of plant fiber. You fumble with it, your fingers about as graceful as a drunk kangaroo. The kids giggle, and you can't help but laugh too. A quirky fact string games weren't just fun. Some patterns were used to teach clan stories or map constellations. You're pretty sure your attempt is telling the story of guy who should stick to yams. Historians still argue whether these games were purely educational or also a way to keep kids entertained while adults worked. You're betting on both, given the way these kids are multitasking mischief and skill. The camp's rhythm hums around you. Women sorting foraged goods, men sharpening spears, the fire crackling like it's gossiping about your carving skills. You loop the string again, following the girl's instructions, but your star looks more like a squashed bug. Joke number 1, you're convinced the kids are secretly betting on how fast you'll give up. The girl takes pity, guiding your fingers with surprising patience, and you manage a wobbly shape that earns a nod. You're not winning any awards, but you're starting to see the game's appeal. It's mesmerizing, like a puzzle that moves with you. A boy nearby the berry thief from earlier shows off a more complex figure, his hands darting like they've got a mind of their own. You watch half in awe, half wondering if you've got the coordination of a rock. The kids' laughter mixes with the camp's sounds. Someone's humming a spear scrapes against stone, and the eucalyptus scent from your morning wood gathering lingers in the air. You think back to the damper and honey, the boomerang you carved at the tracks you tried to read. It's all connected like the strings in your hands, each task weaving the camp together. Joke number 2, you're pretty sure your string figure's telling the land to send help. The girl tugs your string, fixing your mess, and you notice her hands are already calloused, marked by a life of learning young. She tells you the star pattern's name, something tied to a Dreamtime story about the sky, but you're too focused on not dropping the string to catch it all. The sun's dipping lower, casting long shadows across the camp, and the fire's glow feels warmer now. You glance at the shelters, their bark roofs sturdy from years of know-how, and feel a flicker of pride for the wood you dragged in earlier. The kids start a new game, racing to make figures fastest, and you bow out, handing the string back with a grin. You lean back, the earth cool under you, and watch the kids play. A breeze carries the fire's smoke, curling it around the camp like a lazy hug. Joke number 3, you're betting these kids could outsmart you in a string game blindfolded, and you're not even mad about it. The camp's alive with small movements, elders chatting tools being sharpened, the fire's steady crackle. You're starting to feel the pulse of this place, the way every laugh, every task ties to the land. The girl waves you over for another try, and you sigh, picking up the string. Maybe you'll get the hang of it, or maybe you'll just keep the kids entertained. Either way, you're part of the camp's story now. You're settled on the cooling red earth as twilight drapes the camp. The fires glow, casting flickering shadows across the bark shelters. The air smells of smoke and eucalyptus, a scent that's starting to feel like home after your day of foraging and fumbling with string games. You're in the storytelling circle now, surrounded by the camp's families, their faces softened by the firelight. An elder, her voice low and rhythmic, like a river, begins a dreamtime tale, and you lean in the crackle of the fire, blending with her words. Historical records show that Dreamtime stories central to Aboriginal culture weren't just myths, but a way to encode laws, geography, and survival knowledge. You're about to hear one, and you're hoping it's less confusing than your attempt at carving that boomerang. The elder speaks of Bayami, the creator spirit, shaping the land with his hands. Her words paint vivid pictures, rivers carved by serpent tails, stars born from embers, and you're drawn into the story like it's a spell. A quirky fact: some Dreamtime tales were only shared at night, believed to hold more power under the stars. You glance up the Milky Way, sprawling like a glittering river, and wonder if the sky is listening too. Historians still argue whether these stories were universal across Aboriginal groups or varied wildly by clan. You're just trying to keep up your modern brain racing to catch every detail while the camp sits in calm silence. The fire pops, sending a spark skyward, and you shift on the ground, your dilly bag of yams and berries tucked beside you. The elder's voice weaves on describing how Bayami taught the first people to hunt and gather, much like your day's work. You smirk, thinking of your less than stellar spear holding or grub eating moments. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure Bayami would have given you a needs improvement on your foraging report card. The kids from earlier are here quiet for once, their eyes wide as the elder describes a kangaroo spirit outsmarting a hunter. You catch the berry thief's eye, and he grins, probably remembering your clumsy string game. The story shifts to a lesson about respecting the land, and you feel a pang of connection to the tracks you tried to read with Tracker, the yams you dug with the women. The camp's rhythm fire food stories feels like a thread pulling you deeper into this world. A young man adds a log to the fire, the scent of eucalyptus flaring up, and you're reminded of the wood you gathered this morning. The elder's voice dips almost a whisper, and you lean closer, the stars above seeming to pulse with her words. Joke number 2. You're betting the stars are judging your listening skills as much as the elder is. A breeze stirs cool against your dusty skin, and you notice the camp's shelters, their bark roofs glowing faintly in the firelight. The elder's story winds toward a close, leaving you with an image of Bayami, watching over the land, his presence in every tree and river. You're not sure if you believe in spirits, but the story's weight lingers, grounding you. The kids start to fidget, and a woman hums softly, her tune echoing the one you heard while foraging. It's like the camp's weaving its own story around you. Each moment, damper at breakfast, the boomerang's curve, the string game's knots, part of a larger tapestry. The elder pauses, her eyes scanning the circle, and you feel like she's looking right through you. She smiles, faint but warm, and you wonder if she knows you're an outsider, still learning the ropes. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure your place in this Dreamtime tale would be Guy who trips over roots. The fire's warmth wraps around you, and the camp settles into a quiet hum. Soft voices, the crackle of embers, the distant call of a night bird. You lean back, the earth solid beneath you, and let the story's echoes linger, feeling more like you belong with every passing moment. You're kneeling by the fire pit, the evening air cooling as the flames dance, before you casting a warm glow across the camp. The Dreamtime story still lingers in your mind, its images of Bayam and serpents swirling like smoke. Your task now is to tend the fire, a job that feels deceptively simple but carries the weight of the camp's survival. You're handed a bundle of eucalyptus branches, their leaves crisp and fragrant, and an elder shows you how to place them just right to keep the fire steady. Historical records highlight that Aboriginal fire management, practiced by groups like the Ngarrindjeri, was an art carefully controlled to cook warm and even signal across vast distances. You're just hoping you don't accidentally turn the camp into a bonfire. The elder, his hands steady, as stone points to the embers, and explains how eucalyptus burns, slow releasing a scent that keeps bugs away. You nod, poking the fire with a stick, and sparks flutter up like tiny stars. A quirky fact, some clans believed eucalyptus smoke carried messages to ancestors, a kind of spiritual Wi-Fi. You're not sure if your poking's sending any cosmic texts, but the scent is clearing your head sharp and medicinal. Historians still argue whether fire tending was a shared duty or reserved for specific roles like elders or initiates. For now, you're just trying not to singe your eyebrows off. The camp's settling into night, the shelter's bark roofs blending into the shadows. You hear soft laughter from the kids you played string games with, now huddled near a shelter, probably plotting their next berry heist. Joke number 1, you're pretty sure your fire-tending skills would earn you the title of Chief Spark Scatterer at best. You add another branch, watching the flames catch, and the elder nods his eyes, crinkling like he's seen 1,000 fires and 1,000 rookies like you. The smoke curls around you, mixing with the memory of the damper and honey from breakfast. The yams you dug, the boomerang you carved. It's all connected, like the fires tying the day together. A woman passes by, carrying a kulamon of water, and offers you a sip. The earthy taste is familiar now, grounding you as you work. You notice the fire pit's ring of stones worn smooth by years of use, and wonder how many stories they've heard, maybe even the one about Bayami from earlier. The elder shows you how to bank the fire, piling ash to keep it smoldering for the night. It's a small act, but it feels like a ritual, like you're holding the camp's heart in your hands. Joke number 2, you're betting the fire's judging your technique as much as the elder is. The air's cooler now, and you pull your knees up, the fire's warmth brushing your face. You spot the berry thief kid, now asleep against a shelter, his string game tangled in his fingers. The camp's quiet, save for the fire's crackle and a distant owl's call, and you feel the weight of the day, wood gathering, tracking foraging, settling into your bones. The elder adds one last branch, and the eucalyptus scent flares sharp and soothing. You're starting to understand why the fire's central here, not just for heat, but for connection, for stories, for life. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if you mess up this fire, the camp's next Dreamtime tale will be about the guy who burned dinner. You lean back the earth, cool beneath you, and watch the flames settle into a steady glow. The elder's gone to sit with others, leaving you to tend the fire alone for a moment. You poke it gently, feeling a flicker of pride as it holds strong. The camp's rhythm wraps around you, the fire's hum, the soft voices, the stars peeking through the smoke. You're part of it now, even if your fire tending's more enthusiastic than expert. The night's deepening, and you're ready for whatever comes next. The fire's warmth, a quiet promise that you're not just surviving, you're learning. You're trudging through the scrubland, the morning sun just peeking over the horizon, painting the red earth in soft pinks. The camp's fire, which you tended last night, is a distant smudge of smoke behind you, and the eucalyptus scent lingers on your clothes like a badge of your efforts. Your task now is to fetch water from a hidden billabong, guided by a woman whose steady stride makes you feel like you're still learning to walk. She carries a kulamon, its wooden curve worn smooth, and you've got one too, though yours feels like it's judging your grip. Historical records show that Aboriginal groups like the Jabugai relied on intimate knowledge of water sources, often hidden in dry landscapes, to sustain their camps. You're just hoping you don't trip and spill your kulamon before you get there. The woman, her hair tied back, with plant fiber, points to a faint path through the spinifex. Follow the birds, she says, nodding at a pair of zebra finches flitting toward a cluster of trees. You squint, trying to see the logic, and realize the birds are heading for water. A quirky fact, some clans used bird movements to locate billabongs, treating them like feathered GPS systems. You're impressed, but also mildly convinced you'd follow a bird straight into a thorn bush. Historians still argue whether water fetching was a shared task or mostly women's work given its tie to foraging. For now, you're just trying to keep up without face planting. The air's cool, but warming fast, carrying the dry scent of grass and a hint of damp earth. You step over a root, remembering your clumsy spear holding days ago, and grin at how far you've come, or at least how you're not tripping as much. The woman pauses, pointing to a patch of mud with tiny frog tracks. Close now, she says, and you feel a spark of excitement. The billabong's edge appears a shimmer of water, framed by reeds and eucalyptus, its surface catching the sunrise like a mirror. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your water-carrying skills would make the frogs laugh out loud. You kneel at the edge, dipping your kulamon into the cool, clear water. It's heavier than you expected, sloshing against the wood, and you try not to spill as you lift it. The woman shows you how to balance it on your hip, her movements smooth as a dancer's. You try wobbling like you're auditioning for a comedy sketch, and she chuckles, steadying you with a hand. The memory of the damper and honey from breakfast, the yams you dug, the fire you tended, they all feel like pieces of a puzzle you're starting to understand. The camp depends on this water, just like it depends on the fire, the stories, the boomerang you carved. A fish darts in the shallows, and you pause watching its silver flash. The woman tells you the billabong's name, tied to a Dreamtime story about a fish spirit, and you think of the tale you heard last night about Bayami. Everything's connected here. Water, fire stories, even the fish you're failing to catch. Joke number 2. You're betting the fish is judging your kulamon technique as much as the woman is. You fill another scoop, the water's earthy taste familiar now, and feel a flicker of pride. The camp's rhythm is sinking into you, each task, each story building something bigger than yourself. The woman starts back her kulamon steady, and you follow, trying not to slosh water down your leg. The sun's higher now, warming the air, and you hear the camp's faint hum in the distance. Kids laughing, the fire's crackle, maybe even the berry thief plotting his next move. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if you spill this water, the camp's next Dreamtime tale will be about the guy who drowned himself in a kulamon. The billabong fades behind you, but its quiet presence lingers, like the land's reminding you it's always watching. You adjust your grip, the water's weight, grounding you, and step carefully, feeling more like part of the camp with every sloshy step. You're back in the camp, the midday sun baking the red earth as you kneel beside a bark shelter, its roof sagging like it's tired from the heat. Your coulamon of water, miraculously unspilled from your billabong trek, sits nearby, and you're now tasked with patching the shelter's walls to fend off sudden rains. The air smells of dust and eucalyptus, with a faint smoky tang from the fire you tended last night. A woman, her hands deft from years of this work, hands you a bundle of bark strips and a wad of plant resin, sticky as fresh gum. Historical records show Aboriginal shelters like those of the Wanarua were built for mobility, using bark and branches that could be reassembled in hours. You're just hoping your patch job doesn't collapse before dinner. The woman shows you how to layer the bark overlapping it, like shingles to keep water out. You press a strip against the shelter's frame, your fingers sticky with resin, and it holds barely. A quirky fact: some clans mixed termite mound clay with resin for a waterproof seal nature's own caulk. You're not working with clay today, but you're half tempted to try it, if only to avoid another sticky mess. Historians still argue whether shelter building was a communal effort or split by specific roles like age or gender. For now, you're just trying not to glue your hands together. The camp hums around you. Kids running the fire crackling, someone sharpening a spear. You glance at your coulamon, its water gleaming, and feel a flicker of pride from your earlier trek. The woman nudges you, pointing out a gap in the bark you missed. Rain'll find that she says, her voice dry, but kind. You grin, adjusting the strip, and wonder how you'd fare in a downpour. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your shelter would leak like a modern umbrella in a storm. The resin smells sharp, mixing with the eucalyptus in the air, and you're starting to love this scent, like the camp's own perfume. You press another bark strip into place, your hands steadier now, though the resin's still plotting to betray you. The woman demonstrates how to tie grass cords around the frame, securing the bark without nails or screws. It's clever, and you're mildly annoyed your modern toolbox feels so useless here. A kid the berry thief, of course, runs by, tossing you a cheeky wave, and you shake your head, remembering his antics during the string games. The memory of the Dreamtime story about Bayami the fish you caught the fire you tended it all weaves into this moment, like the camp's a living story you're part of. Joke number 2, you're betting Bayami never had to deal with resin stuck in his hair. The sun's high, and sweat beads on your forehead, mixing with the dust on your skin. You're a mess, but it feels earned, like the yams you dug or the boomerang you carved. The woman steps back, inspecting your work, and gives a nod, high praise in this camp. You notice the shelter's frame saplings bent into arcs, and think of the wood you gathered days ago. Everything's connected here. Fire-water stories, shelters like threads in the string games you fumbled. The camp's rhythm is slow but sure, and you're starting to move with it, even if your patch job looks like abstract art. A breeze stirs, cooling your skin, and you hear the faint laughter of the kids, the crackle of the fire, the hum of voices. The woman hands you another bark strip, and you get back to work. The resin's stickiness a small price to pay. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if this shelter holds, you'll demand a badge for Outback Architect. The camp feels alive around you, each task building on the last water from the billabong stories by the fire yams in your dilly bag. You press the bark into place, the shelter standing a little stronger, and feel the land's pulse under your hands, tying you to this place, one strip at a time. You're standing knee-deep in a shimmering river, the water cool against your skin as the afternoon sun glints off its surface, turning it into a sheet of liquid gold. The camp's fire, its smoky scent, still clinging to your clothes from last night, is a distant hum behind you, and the bark shelter you patched feels like a small victory left back in the dust. Now you're learning to fish, guided by a wiry man whose hands move like they've known this river forever. He's showing you how to cast a net woven from plant fibers, its knots tight as the string games you fumbled with the kids. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the UN used nets and traps to catch fish, mastering river ecosystems with a precision that modern anglers might envy. You're just hoping you don't tangle the net around yourself like a human burrito. The man who you're calling Fisher, because his calm focus reminds you of a heron, tosses his net with a flick, and it spreads like a fan, sinking gracefully. You try, and yours lands in a sad, lumpy heap. He chuckles low and patient, and shows you again, emphasizing the wrist snap. A quirky fact, some clans weighted their nets with polished river stones, chosen for their perfect balance. You're using one now, and it feels smooth, almost warm in your palm. Historians still argue whether fishing was a daily staple or a seasonal boost when game was scarce. Right now, you're just praying you catch something other than a branch. The river's current tugs at your legs, and you steady yourself. The water's chill, a welcome break from the heat. You cast again, and the net spreads a bit better, though it's still more modern art than masterpiece. Joke number 1, you're pretty sure the fish are laughing harder than Fisher is. You pull the net back empty, but for a twig, and try not to sigh. The camp's rhythm feels far off Fire Yam stories, but the river has its own pulse, and you're starting to feel it. Fisher points to a ripple or the sign of fish, and you nod, pretending you saw it first. The memory of the billabong water, you carried its earthy taste, comes back, tying you to this moment. A fish flashes silver in the shallows, and your heart skips. Fisher gestures for you to cast again, and you do the net arcing a little cleaner this time. It sinks, and you wait, holding your breath. You pull it up, still empty, but Fisher nods like you're getting there. The air smells of wet reeds and faint eucalyptus, and you hear the camp's distant sounds, kids laughing, maybe the berry thief up to his tricks again. Joke number 2, you're betting that kid would have caught a fish with his string game skills by now. You cast once more, the net's weight familiar now, like the spear or boomerang you held earlier. The river's teaching you patience, just like the land did with tracks and yams. You glance at Fisher, his eyes fixed on the water, and wonder how many mornings he's spent here, reading the river like a book. A bird, a white egret, lifts off from the bank, its wings cutting through the air, and you're reminded of the birds you followed to the billabong. Everything's connected here, water-fire stories, even the fish you're failing to catch. You pull the net again, this time snagging a small fish, its scales glinting like a tiny mirror. Fisher grunts approval, and you feel a rush of pride like you've just passed a test. Joke number 3, you're pretty sure this fish is the camp's smallest, but you're claiming master angler anyway. The sun's dipping, casting long shadows across the river, and you wade back to shore, your net and single fish in tow. Fisher carries his own haul, far more impressive, and you follow the water's chill lingering on your skin. The camp's fire is waiting ready to cook whatever you bring, and you feel the day's rhythm, woodwater stories pulling you back. You're part of it now, even if your net casting needs work. The river's behind you, but its lessons ripple forward, tying you to the camp one small fish at a time. You're crouched by the camp's fire, its familiar crackle blending with the evening breeze as you hold a goanna, its scaly body limp from a recent hunt. The air smells of smoke and roasted meat, the red earth under you cooling as the sun dips low. Your task is to cook, guided by a woman whose hands move with the ease of someone who's done this 1,000 times. She skewered the goanna on a green stick, ready to roast it over the glowing coals you helped tend last night. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Martu mastered bush cooking, using coals and earth ovens to bring out flavors without wasting a scrap. You're just hoping you don't char this goanna into an outback hockey puck. The woman, her fingers dusted with ash, shows you how to angle the stick so the meat cooks evenly, the fat dripping into the fire with a soft hiss. You mimic her, your hands clumsy but trying, and the goanna's skin starts to crisp, releasing a savory scent that makes your stomach rumble. A quirky fact, some clans wrapped food in paper bark before roasting, locking in moisture like nature's tinfoil. You're sticking with the stick method, but you're half convinced you'll drop it into the coals. Historians still argue whether cooking was a communal task or split by gender, given the overlap in foraging and hunting roles. For now, you're just praying the goanna doesn't stage a posthumous escape. The camp's alive around you. Kids giggling, someone sharpening a spear, the faint hum of a song from the storytelling circle. You glance at the fire, its embers glowing, like the ones you tended, and feel the thread of a connection to the water you carried the yams you dug. The woman nudges the stick, adjusting its angle, and you follow, trying not to look like you're wrestling it. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your cooking skills would make the goanna wish it had run faster. The fire's heat brushes your face, and you notice the camp's shelters their bark roofs sturdy thanks to your patching efforts blending into the dusk. A kid the berry thief naturally sneaks, close-eyeing the roasting goanna like it's a 5-star meal. You wave him off, grinning, and he darts away, laughing. The woman chuckles, saying he'll be back for scraps. The memory of the damper and honey from breakfast, the yams you dug, the fish you caught. It all feels like part of this moment. The camp's rhythm tying each task together. You turn the stick, the goanna's skin now golden, and feel a flicker of pride. Joke number 2. You're betting this goanna's the only thing in camp not judging your technique right now. The woman adds a handful of coals under the meat, her movements precise, and you try to copy her, scattering a few too many and earning a raised eyebrow. The fire flares and you wince, but she just laughs low and warm. The air's thick with the scent of roasting meat, mingling with eucalyptus and the faint tang of the billabong water you sipped earlier. You're starting to get the hang of this, or at least you're not setting anything on fire. The camp's settling into evening, the sky streaked with pink, and you hear the kids playing their string games in the distance, their laughter a soft echo of the stories you heard last night. You pull the goanna from the fire, its skin crisp and fragrant, and the woman nods, a rare smile breaking through. You're not sure if it's edible yet, but it looks better than you expected, like you might actually pull this off. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if this goanna tastes good, you'll demand a chef's hat made of bark. The fire crackles the camp's rhythm, wrapping around you food stories, shelters all woven into the land. You set the stick down, the goanna ready to share, and feel the day's work in your hands, your bones, your heart. The camp's teaching you one roast at a time, and you're listening. You're seated by the camp's fire, its warmth a steady pulse against the cooling evening air as you hold a smooth stone mortar and a bundle of green leaves that smell sharp, like a mix of mint and earth. The goanna you roasted is cooling. Nearby, its savory scent still lingering, and the camp hums with the quiet rhythm of dusk kids laughing, a spear being sharpened, the fire crackling like it's gossiping about your cooking skills. Your task is to make a healing paste, guided by an elder woman whose fingers move with the precision of a surgeon. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Noongar used plant-based medicines from eucalyptus for colds to tea tree for cuts, with a knowledge that predates modern pharmacies. You're just hoping your paste doesn't end up as Outback salad dressing. The elder, her hair flecked with gray hands, you a pestle and shows you how to grind the leaves, releasing a pungent aroma that clears your sinuses. You press the pestle down the leaves, turning to a sticky mush, and your hands feel like they're learning a new language. A quirky fact: some clans added crushed insects to their pastes, believing their enzymes boosted healing. You're relieved to stick with leaves because you're still recovering from the witchetty grub incident. Historians still argue whether medicinal knowledge was held by specific healers or shared across the camp. Right now, you're just trying not to turn the mortar into a modern art project. The camp's settling into night. The shelter's bark roofs patched by your own hands, blending into the shadows. You glance at the fire, its embers glowing like the ones you tended, and feel the thread of connection to the water you carried the yams you dug. The elder adds a drop of water from a coulamon, the same earthy taste you've come to know, and the paste thickens. You grind harder, your arms aching, and she nods, her eyes sharp but kind. Joke number one: you're pretty sure your paste-making skills would make the local plants demand a refund. A kid. The berry thief, of course, peeks over, sniffing the air like he's expecting a snack. You raise an eyebrow, and he giggles, darting off before you can shoo him. The elder chuckles, saying he once tried to eat a healing paste and regretted it for days. The memory of the Dreamtime story about Bayame, the fish you caught, the fire you tended, it all weaves into this moment, like the camp's a living story you're part of. You add another leaf, the mortar's weight, grounding you, and the paste starts to look like something useful, not just green goo. Joke number two: you're betting this paste could cure anything, except your questionable grinding technique. The elder explains the paste is for cuts, maybe from a spear or a thorn, and you think of your own scratches from foraging. She smears a bit on your arm and it stings, then soothes like the land's giving you a stern but caring pat. The fire's glow lights her face, and you notice the faint ochre dots from the women you foraged with, tying this moment to earlier ones. The camp's rhythm fire food stories feel stronger now, like a heartbeat you're syncing with. A breeze carries the paste's sharp scent, mixing with the goanna's aroma, and you hear the kids' laughter in the distance, maybe playing their string games. You scoop the paste into a small bark container, and the elder nods, a rare smile breaking through. You're not sure if it's actually medicinal, but it feels like a small triumph, like the fish you caught or the shelter you patched. Joke number three: you're pretty sure if this paste works, you'll demand a bush pharmacist badge to go with your chef's hat. The camp's quiet now. The fires crackle, a steady companion, and you lean back, the earth cool beneath you. The day's tasks: water cooking stories, are settling into your bones, and you're starting to feel like you belong one leaf at a time. You're standing in the camp's clearing, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows as you hold a small clay pot of red ochre, its earthy scent mixing with the familiar smoky tang of the fire nearby. The goanna you roasted and the healing paste you ground feel like distant victories now as you're tasked with preparing for a ceremonial dance. A wiry elder, his face already streaked with ochre patterns, hands you a brush made of chewed bark and gestures to your arm. Paint, he says, his voice steady but expectant. Historical records show that Aboriginal ceremonies, like those of the Gunditj Mara, used ochre for body art, with colors carrying meanings tied to clanland or spirit. You're just hoping your painting doesn't look like a toddler's finger paint experiment. The elder demonstrates dipping the brush into the ochre and tracing a line on his chest, precise as a calligrapher. You try smearing a wobbly streak on your arm, and he tilts his head amused but patient. A quirky fact, some clans mixed ochre with animal fat to make it stick through sweat and movement, like nature's glitter glue. You're using plain ochre, and it's gritty, clinging to your skin like damp sand. Historians still argue whether ceremonial painting was a sacred role for elders or a communal act anyone could join. For now, you're just trying not to smear ochre in your hair. The camp's buzzing quietly kids, running the fire, crackling a woman, humming a tune from the storytelling circle. You glance at the shelters, their bark roofs, your handiwork standing firm, and feel the thread of the connection to the water. You carried the yams you dug. The elder points to a pattern, dots and lines, like a map, and you copy it, your brush strokes getting steadier. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your ochre art would make the camp spirits request a do-over. The air's warm, the sun dipping low, and the ochre's earthy scent grounds you, like the land's lending you its strength. A kid, the berry thief, naturally sneaks close eyeing the ochre like it's a new toy. You wave the brush at him, and he laughs, darting off before you can paint his nose. The elder chuckles, saying the boy's been painted for every ceremony since he could walk. The memory of the Dreamtime story about Bayami the fish you caught, the fire you tended it all, weaves into this moment, like the camp's a living canvas. You add another dot, the ochre cool on your skin, and feel a flicker of pride. Joke number 2. You're betting your painting skills would make the stars above rethink their constellations. The elder explains the pattern's meaning, something about connection to the land, a story you'll hear tonight in the dance. You nod, half listening, half focused on not smudging your work. The camp's preparing 2 men, sharpening spears, women sorting feathers, the fire glowing like it's ready for its close-up. You think of the goanna's savory scent, the paste's sharp bite, and how each task ties you closer to this place. The sun's nearly set now, painting the sky in pinks and purples, and you hear a distant didgeridoo warming up its low hum, vibrating in your chest. You finish a line wobbly but passable, and the elder nods his eyes, crinkling. You're not sure if it's ceremonial worthy, but it feels like you're part of something bigger, like the boomerang you carved or the tracks you followed. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if this paint job holds, you'll demand a bush artist badge to go with your growing collection. The camp's rhythm wraps around you, fire stories ochre, pulling you into its flow. You set the brush down your arms, streaked with red, and feel the land's pulse under your feet, ready for the dance to bring it all alive. You're standing in the camp's clearing, the night air cool against your ochre-streaked skin as the fire's glow bathes the shelters in a soft, flickering light. The red earth under your feet feels alive, pulsing with the low hum of a didgeridoo that vibrates in your chest like a heartbeat. You're part of a ceremonial dance now, swaying with the camp under a sky glittering with stars. The ochre patterns you painted earlier itch slightly, but they mark you as part of this moment, this story. Historical records show Aboriginal dances like those of the Yolngu were more than performance. They were rituals tying clans to land spirits and each other. You're just hoping your swaying doesn't look like you're dodging invisible bees. An elder, his body painted with swirling white lines, leads the dance. His steps deliberate, mimicking a kangaroo's bound. You follow your movements clumsy but earnest, trying to match the rhythm of clapping sticks and the didgeridoo's drone. A quirky fact: some dances reenacted Dreamtime stories, with movements passed down for millennia, precise as a script. You're not sure which story this is, maybe the one about Bayame you heard, but you feel its weight in every step. Historians still argue whether these dances were open to all, or restricted to initiated members. For now, you're just glad no one's laughing at your 2 left feet routine. The fire crackles its scent of eucalyptus, blending with the night air, and you think of the wood you gathered, the flames you tended. The camp's alive around you, women chanting softly, men stomping in sync, kids watching wide-eyed from the sidelines. The berry thief is there, his face painted with ochre dots, swaying like he was born for this. You grin, remembering his cheeky grin during the string games, and try to copy his rhythm. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your dance moves would make the kangaroo spirit demand a recount. The elder's steps shift now, mimicking a bird's flight, and you raise your arms, feeling the ochre stretch on your skin. The didgeridoo's hum deepens, and you're caught in the sound, like the land's singing through you. The memory of the goanna. You roasted the yams, you dug the fish you caught. It all weaves into this moment. The camp's rhythm, tying each task to this dance. A woman nearby chants a line about the stars, and you glance up the Milky Way, sprawling like it's watching. Joke number 2. You're betting the stars are giving your dance a generous 3 out of 10. The fire's glow catches the elder's paint, making his pattern seem alive, like they're dancing too. You sway, finding the rhythm, and feel a flicker of connection, not just to the camp, but to the land. The stories, the fire you've kept burning. A breeze stirs cool against your sweaty skin, and you notice the shelters. Their bark roofs sturdy from your patching, standing silent witnesses. The didgeridoo pulses, and you step lighter, your body starting to understand what your mind's still grasping. The kids clap their voices, joining the chant, and you spot the berry thief, mimicking your awkward sway, earning a laugh from the group. You're sweating now, the ochre smudging but holding, and the elder nods his eyes sharp in the firelight. You're not sure if you're dancing right, but you're part of it, part of the camp's heartbeat. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if this dance gets you a bush dancer badge, it'll be for enthusiasm, not skill. The fire crackles, the chant rises, and the stars seem to lean closer. The camp's rhythm food water stories. Now this dance wraps you tight, and you sway the land's pulse under your feet, carrying you deeper into its story. You're seated on the red earth, the night air still warm from the ceremonial dance. your ochre-streaked skin tingling as the fire's glow fades into embers. The didgeridoo's hum lingers in your chest, and the camp's quiet, now save for soft voices and the crackle of the fire you've tended before. You're part of a trade talk, sitting cross-legged as a visitor from a neighboring clan unpacks a bundle of goods, stone tools, a bundle of feathers, a coulamon of dried fish. Historical records show Aboriginal trade networks like those of the Kulin stretched across vast regions, exchanging goods and stories with a diplomacy that kept clans connected. You're just hoping you don't accidentally barter away your half-finished boomerang. The visitor, a broad-shouldered man with a calm gaze, spreads out his goods and gestures to a pile of ochre from your camp, its red hue vivid, even in the firelight. Your elder, the one who led the dance, speaks in a low tone, offering the ochre for some of the visitors' flint blades. You watch clutching a coulamon of water you carried trying to follow the negotiations' rhythm. A quirky fact, some clans use message sticks carved with symbols to ensure safe passage for traders like an ancient passport. You're not seeing one tonight, but you're half expecting the visitor to pull out a secret handshake. Historians still argue whether trade was purely economic or a way to strengthen social bonds. You're betting on both, given the elder's warm but shrewd tone. The fire pops, sending a spark skyward, and you glance up the emu in the sky, watching like it did during your star lesson. The camp's web-water food family feels stronger now, each task a thread in the Dreamtime's tapestry. The elder pauses, her eyes scanning the circle, and you wonder if she sees your modern brain struggling to keep up. The air's thick with the promise of rain, and you hear a distant didgeridoo maybe warming up for another night. The shelters stand sturdy. The kids' soft breaths mix with the fire's crackle, and you feel the land's pulse, Art Hunt's stories, pulling you deeper. You lean back the earth, cool beneath you, and let the elder's words sink in. She finishes with a lesson about listening to the land, and you think of the fish, the yams, the fire you tended, all part of this story. Joke number 3, you're pretty sure if you wrote a Dreamtime tale, it'd be called The Guy Who Tripped Over Wisdom. The camp's rhythm holds you, the fire's glow soft, the stars bright. You're part of this now, one story at a time, the land's lessons weaving you into its heart deeper with every word. You're crouched at the camp's edge, the night air cool and heavy with the scent of eucalyptus and impending rain, the fire's distant glow casting faint shadows on the red earth. The Dreamtime story about Bayame still echoes in your mind, its lessons of balance and respect lingering like the smoke you've tended. Your task now is to stand watch on a night patrol, guarding the camp against nocturnal dangers. Dingoes may be a stray snake, guided by a lean man whose eyes scan the dark like he's reading it. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Martu often kept night watches to protect sleeping camps using keen senses honed by a lifetime on the land. You're just hoping you don't mistake a rustling bush for a dingo and scream loud enough to wake the stars. The man who you're calling Night Eyes, because he seems to see through the dark hands you a spear familiar from your tracking lessons and points to a path circling the camp. You grip at the wood cool and smooth and follow his silent steps, trying to move without tripping. A quirky tidbit, some night patrols used glowing fungi on sticks as natural lanterns, a trick to avoid startling game or spirits. You're stuck with starlight, which is plenty, since the emu in the sky is blazing above, but you're half convinced you'd drop that fungi in a panic. Historians still argue whether patrols were a shared duty or assigned to specific guardians. For now, you're just trying to keep your spear pointed the right way. The camp's quiet. The shelter's bark roofs, your patching work blending into the night. You hear a soft snore, maybe the berry thief, dreaming of his next heist, and the fire's faint crackle tying you to the flames you tended. Night Eyes pauses, ear cocked, and you freeze heart thumping as you strain to hear. A faint rustle, probably just wind, but you grip the spear tighter, thinking of the kangaroo hunt, the fish you caught. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your patrol skills would scare off a dingo by sheer clumsiness alone. The airs damp the clouds from your weather watching session, thicker now, and you feel the land's pulse alert but calm. Night Eyes moves again, his steps silent on the red earth, and you follow, dodging a route you swear wasn't there a second ago. He points to a scuff in the dirt, maybe a wallaby, and you nod, pretending you saw it first. The memory of the yams you dug, the ochre you painted, weaves into this moment. The camp's rhythm fire stories hunts, holding you tight. A distant owl hoots and you jump, earning a faint smirk from Night Eyes. Joke number 2. You're betting that owl's telling the camp you're the worst guard since forever. The stars glitter the emu in the sky, guiding you like it did during your star mapping lesson, and you feel the land watching. You pass a shelter, its bark roof sturdy, and think of the Coolamon you etched, the songs you hummed. Night Eyes stops scanning the scrubland, and you mimic him, your eyes useless in the dark, but trying. The air's thick with the promise of rain, and you smell the eucalyptus you've come to love, tying you to the wood you gathered. The camp's asleep, save for the fire's soft glow and a kid's faint giggle. Probably the berry thief up to no good. Night Eyes grunts, signaling all's clear, and you relax just a bit. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if a dingo shows up, you'll offer it your spear and run. You circle back toward the fire, its warmth a beacon, and Night Eyes nods his eyes, crinkling like he's mildly impressed. The camp's rhythm water food stories. Now this quiet watch wraps you close, the earth cool beneath your feet. You feel the land's lessons, patience, alertness sinking deeper, tying you to this place while one step at a time. The stars shine, the shelters stand, and you grip your spear, part of the camp's heartbeat, guarding its sleep under the vast, watchful sky. You're settled on the red earth near the camp's fire, its fading embers casting a soft glow as the night deepens, the air thick with the scent of eucalyptus and the faint dampness of approaching rain. The spear from your night patrol rests beside you, its weight, a reminder of the quiet watch you just finished and the camp's rhythm's soft snores. The fire's crackle feels like a lullaby. You're sharing laughter with your extended kin, now gathered in a loose circle, the warmth of family ties as real as the fire you tended. Historical records show Aboriginal kinship, like that of the Kamilaroi, created sprawling networks of care, where laughter and stories strengthen bonds as much as shared food or hunts. You're just hoping your jokes don't earn you a demotion to guy who guards forever. A woman, your kinship sister from earlier, tells a story about a clumsy hunter. Definitely not you, she insists with a grin, and the group laughs, the sound blending with the night's hum. You join in your chuckle, rusty but genuine, thinking of your own fumbles with the spear or Coolamon. A quirky tidbit, some clans used humorous tales to teach lessons like cautionary stories about overeager hunters embedded in laughter to soften the sting. You're pretty sure your boomerang carving attempt could star in one of those tales. Historians still argue whether these gatherings were spontaneous or planned to reinforce clan unity. For now, you're just glad to be included, even if your laugh's a bit off-key. The fire pops its smoke, curling like the stories you've heard, and you think of the kangaroo you shared the yams you dug. The berry thief, your brother by kinship rules, plops down beside you, his ochre dot smudged, and mimics your laugh, earning a ripple of giggles. You nudge him grinning, and he hands you a muntry berry, a peace offering from his latest heist. Joke number one. You're pretty sure his berry stash is bigger than the camp's entire food supply. The air's cool, the shelter's your patched roofs, blending into the dark, and you feel the camp's web fire songs, hunts tying this moment to your tasks. An elder joins the circle, his voice low, as he shares a story about a star falling, tying it to the emu in the sky you mapped. You laugh at his exaggerated gestures, feeling the connection to the night patrol, the stars watching over. The woman adds a tale about a kid, definitely not the berry thief. She winks who got stuck in a tree chasing honey. The group roars, and you think of the billabong, the fish you caught, all woven into this laughter. Joke number two. You're betting your own camp story would be titled Guy Who Fell Over Everything. The fire's glow catches the elder's ochre patterns, and you remember the dance, the paint you applied its weight, still on your skin. The berry thief leans against you yawning, and you feel the kinship rules sink deeper, like the Dreamtime stories about Bayami. The camp's quiet now, save for the laughter and the fire's soft crackle, and you share another berry, its tartness sharp on your tongue. The air's damp, the clouds heavier from your weather watching, and you hear a distant owl, maybe the one from your patrol. The shelter stands sturdy, the stars glitter, and you feel the camp's pulse, water food family pulling you closer. Joke number three. You're pretty sure if laughter's a currency, you're broke, but happy. The group's chuckles fade. The fire dims, and you lean back the earth, cool beneath you, feeling like you belong one laugh at a time. You're standing in the camp's clearing, the morning sun casting a gentle glow across the red earth, its warmth mingling with the smoky scent of the fire you tended and the faint dampness of last night's clouds. The laughter from your kinship circle still echoes in your chest, and the muntry berry's tartness lingers on your tongue. Your task now is to mentor a youth in spear throwing, guided by a wiry man who's watching you with a mix of patience and amusement. The youth, none other than the berry thief, your brother by kinship rules, grips a small spear, his eyes bright with excitement. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Yolngu taught skills like spear throwing, young blending play with survival training. You're just hoping you don't accidentally teach him how to miss spectacularly. The man who you're calling spear because his throws are as sharp as his gaze demonstrates a smooth arc, the spear sailing into a straw target with a satisfying thud. You try your spear wobbling midair before landing in the dust, and the berry thief giggles, mimicking your stance with exaggerated flair. A quirky tidbit, some clans used sap-coated spears to practice the stickiness, mimicking a real hit's resistance. You're not using sap, but you're half convinced your spear's allergic to the target. Historians still argue whether teaching was structured or learned through observation. For now, you're just trying to look like you know what you're doing. The camp hums. Kids playing women, sorting foraged goods, the fire crackling like it's rooting for you. You glance at the shelters, their bark roofs, your handiwork standing firm, and feel the thread of connection to the water you carried the kangaroo you shared. You adjust the berry thief's grip, echoing Spear's advice, and his next throw is straighter, though it clips a bush. Joke number one. You're pretty sure your mentoring skills would make the bush demand an apology. The air's warm and sweat beads on your forehead, but the rhythm of teaching steady patient grounds you like the land's guiding your hands. The berry thief tries again, his spear landing closer, and you cheer, earning a grin that's all pride and mischief. You think of the string games he played the ochre dots from the dance, and how he's woven into the camp's web, just like you. Spear nods his eyes, crinkling, and you feel a flicker of pride, like when you etched the Coolamon or roasted the goanna. Joke number 2, you're betting if you keep mentoring. The berry thief will be throwing spears better than you by lunch. The fire's smoke curls up, carrying the eucalyptus scent you love, and you hear a distant didgeridoo, maybe warming up for tonight. You hand the youth another spear, showing him how to balance it, and his throw is stronger, almost hitting the target. The memory of the Dreamtime story about Bayami, the stars you mapped, the ant mounds you studied, it all weaves into this moment. The camp's rhythm fire stories family, tying you to the land. The sun climbs, warming your back, and you notice the shelters, the kids' laughter, the hum of the camp. Spear grunts approval, and you feel like you're actually teaching something, even if it's just enthusiasm. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure, if you teach any worse, the camp's next tale will be about the guy who mentored a spear into a tree. You step back, letting the berry thief try again, his spear flying straighter, grazing the target. The camp's alive around you, women humming, men sharpening tools, the fire's steady glow. You feel the land's pulse, water hunt songs, now teaching pulling you deeper, one throw at a time. The berry thief looks at you, his grin wide, and you nod, feeling like you're part of his story, the camp's story, the land's story, all woven together under the morning sun. You're settled on a pile of soft grasses inside a bark shelter, the evening air cool and heavy, with the scent of eucalyptus and the faint smoky tang of the fire you tended now, a distant glow outside. The spear-throwing lesson with the berry thief feels like a small triumph, his final throw still vivid in your mind. You're resting now, wrapped in kangaroo hides that smell faintly of earth and smoke, reflecting on the day's rhythm under the shelter's sturdy roof, your own patching work holding strong. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Jabagai valued quiet moments of rest, using them to process lessons from hunt stories or the land itself. You're just hoping you don't snore loud enough to wake the camp. The shelter's walls creak softly as a breeze stirs, and you trace the bark's rough texture with your fingers, thinking of the Coolamon. You etched its river pattern, tying you to the billabong you trekked to. The air's damp, the clouds from your weather watching, hinting at rain, and you feel the camp's pulse, fire yam song settling into your bones. A quirky tidbit, some clans slept with small fires inside shelters, their smoke believed to ward off spirits. You're glad for the open air tonight because your fire tending skills are still more enthusiastic than expert. Historians still argue whether rest was a structured ritual or simply a practical pause. For now, you're just savoring the quiet. The camp's sounds drift in kids giggling softly. Maybe the berry thief, plotting his next move, and the fire's faint crackle like it's whispering stories. You think of the kangaroo you shared the ochre, you painted the stars you mapped under the emu in the sky. The hides are warm, their weight grounding you, and you feel a flicker of pride, like when you sharpened tools or mentored the youth. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your snoring would inspire a Dreamtime tale about the guy who scared the dingoes. The shelter's roof blocks the stars, but you feel their presence tying you to the lessons of the land. A soft hum floats from outside, maybe a woman singing the river song you joined, and you smile, remembering your off-key attempt. The memory of the fish you caught, the ant mounds you studied, weaves into this moment. The camp's rhythm, Hunt Story's family holding you close. You shift the grasses rustling and notice a faint ochre smudge on your arm, a remnant of the dance. Joke number 2. You're betting that smudge is the camp's way of saying you're one of us. But don't quit your day job. The air's cool, the earth beneath you steady, and you feel the land's lessons, patience connection, sinking deeper. You pull the hides tighter, the shelter's walls shielding you from the night's chill. The camp's quiet now, save for a distant owl, maybe the one from your night patrol, and the fire's soft pop. You think of the boomerang you carved, its curves still rough, and the kinship rules that made you a brother. The clouds outside might bring rain, but the shelter feels safe, a testament to your patching. Joke number 3. You're pretty sure if you dream tonight, it'll be about accidentally throwing your spear into the billabong. The camp's heartbeat, water, food, laughter wraps you tight, and you close your eyes, the earth cradling you, ready to drift into its story. You breathe slow, the eucalyptus scent lingering, and feel the weight of the day tracking, teaching, etching, settling like dust. The shelter's sturdy, the hides warm, and you're part of this place now woven into its web. The stars outside the fire's glow, the camp's soft hum. They're all with you, carrying you deeper into the land's rhythm. You're not just resting, you're listening the lessons of the camp, sinking into your dreams, one quiet breath at a time. You're curled up in your bark shelter, the kangaroo hides wrapped around you like a warm embrace, the red earth beneath you, cool and steady as the night deepens. The faint glow of the camp's fire filters through the shelter's gaps, its smoky eucalyptus scent mingling with the damp air, a reminder of the rain clouds you studied. The lessons of the camp spear throwing with the berry thief, etching the Kulamon, singing by the fire settle into your bones like a soft hum. You're drifting now, the land's rhythm guiding you towards sleep under a vast starry sky. Historical records show Aboriginal groups like the Arunte saw sleep as a time to connect with the dream time, where stories and spirits wove into dreams. You're just hoping your dreams don't feature you tripping over a spear. The shelter creaks gently, its bark roof, your patching handiwork, holding firm against the night's breeze. You think of the fire you tended, its embers, glowing like the stars you mapped under the emu in the sky. The air's heavy, the clouds thicker, and you hear a distant rumble, maybe thunder, tying back to the ant mounds you watched. A quirky tidbit, some clans believed dreams carried messages from ancestors guiding the camp's next steps. You're not sure what your dreams will bring, but you're half convinced they'll involve the berry thief stealing your Kulamon. Historians still argue whether sleep was a spiritual practice or just rest for survival. For now, you're just sinking into the hide's warmth, the camp's quiet, save for a soft owl hoot, maybe the one from your night patrol, and the fire's faint crackle like it's whispering you to sleep. You think of the kangaroo you shared, its rich flavor, and the yams you dug their earthy weight. The memory of the dance night. The ochre on your skin weaves into this moment. The camp's rhythm, fire stories, family cradling you. Joke number 1. You're pretty sure your dreams will cast you as Guy, who drops everything with the berry thief as the star. The hides a smell of earth grounding you, and you feel the land's pulse steady as the stars above. A soft hum drifts from outside, maybe a lingering song from the evening session, and you smile, remembering your wobbly attempt to join in. The shelter's walls block the stars, but you feel their presence like the emu guiding you through the night's lessons. The air's cool, the earth beneath you solid, and you think of the fish you caught, the tools you sharpened, all part of this place. Joke number 2, you're betting your dream self will try to paint ochre and end up with a face full of it. The camp's heartbeat water hunt's laughter holds you close, and you sink deeper, the shelter's safety wrapping you like a promise. Wind down. Your breathing slows the hide's warmth, softening your edges, and the camp's sounds fade to a gentle murmur, like a lullaby sung by the land itself. The fire's distant glow, the eucalyptus scent, the earth's cool embrace, they're all with you, weaving into a quiet dreamscape where the billabong ripples, the stars shimmer, and the berry thief's grin lights the way. You're part of this now, not just a visitor, but a thread in a camp's tapestry tied to its stories, its people, its heart. The night wraps you gently, and the shelter sturdy, the sky vast above. Let the land carry you its lessons, sinking into your dreams, whispering of rivers, fires, and stars. Drift now in the camp's rhythm, rocking you softly, the earth holding you close until all that's left is peace, quiet, and the promise of tomorrow's light.